Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the March 2024 meeting of the Brand USA Board of Directors. I want to begin by welcoming Hari and Mike to the board. I know this is your first meeting. Obviously, I know your backgrounds, and it's been just a joy to be able to have yesterday and some of our preliminary sessions getting ready for today's meeting to be able to get to know you just that much better. So welcome to the board. I look forward to your service. Thank you. We had an interesting opportunity to hear from our friends at U.S. Travel and the Commerce Department just a moment ago, and there were a couple of pieces that really popped out at me, especially as we're thinking about the work that we do here at Brand USA, the incredible work that the staff undertakes in terms of developing relationships with consumers around the world, developing relationships with the media and the travel trade as well. So when you look at the study that U.S. Travel has done, to see that the Euromonitor report indicates that the U.S. is the #1 most desired destination in the world, but we are the #3 most visited destination in the world. And amongst all those major travel and tourism markets, we have been the slowest to recover. We're at 84%, where some are well above where they were prior to COVID. And so the study then obviously does that deep dive into why. And one of the reasons that it wasn't lagging was, I took it as it was a non-contributing factor, was to see that travel promotion was #2 out of 18. We were ranked second out of 18. There were a lot of other situations that were causing, I'll call, friction in the system, right? Whether it's visa processing times and the use of technology and the like that were causing friction in the system. And for where we sit on this board, it certainly leaves me going, wow, how much more powerful could our message be received? How much more powerful could our KPIs and our ROI be if we could start removing the friction from the system? And I know that many of us this week spent time up on Capitol Hill having a chance to meet with members of Congress as part of U.S. Travel's Destination Capitol Hill. And that's a big part of, I know, the messages that we took as the Oregon delegation were how to remove friction from the system. When we see some markets with 400-day visa wait times, where the average, I think, across all is 162 days, which is twice what the next closest country is experiencing. So it's, there's friction in the system. And based on some of the conversations that we've been able to have as a board, both formally and informally, there's no doubt that it's a contributing factor. You see it, you experience it, and it's got to be contributing to overall satisfaction in terms of, do I want to go? Do I feel a sense of urgency to go there because there's so many choices in the world these days, so many countries that are investing in travel to their country. So it's just some takeaways for me as I listened to that report, and but it made me very, very pleased to see how, from a national leadership perspective, travel promotion in that Euromonitor study had us ranked #2 out of 18. Which kind of brings me to another thought that I just wanted to make sure I touched on in terms of updating the board, as well as those that are listening here today. And that is that many of you know that our dear friend, our current CEO, who has been in this role this is now his 12th year, if I'm doing my math right, for an organization that's been around 14 years, to have had Chris in this role for 12 years has been a gift to the industry. He's brought an awareness of the importance of stakeholder relationships, how the DMOs function in the environment, sees this role as the national destination marketing organization for the U.S. and the importance of working with the brands, with the private sector, as well as that DMO ecosystem at the state and regional and local level as well. And how if we can all get on the same end of the rope and pull, we are just that much more impactful together. And Chris did me the great disservice when I agreed to serve as chair of announcing his retirement last July. So I did want to provide a brief update as to where we are in terms of the CEO search process. We did form a CEO search subcommittee, and that subcommittee had been meeting regularly with the search firm that we've retained, reviewed a number of names, convened a number of interviews online. I've got to tell you, I was blown away with the quality of the candidates. A number of folks that were raising their hands, indicating their interest in this role should flatter all of us. And certainly you, in terms of the organization that has been built and the reputation that's here. So to be able to see the strength of the candidates that are interested in the role, we navigated our first round interviews, and then yesterday convened second round interviews. So we are now at a point where we're continuing those deliberations, and we will certainly keep the team and all of you apprised as we continue to move forward with that process. So with that, Chris, I know I've got a couple of things I need to do here, and then I'm going to be turning it over to you to walk us through some updates. I want to acknowledge that we do have quorum present at our meeting here today, and our first item of business will be the approval of the minutes from our November 15th meeting. Those were provided to the board members in advance as part of your pre-read materials, and I would entertain a motion to adopt those minutes as submitted.
Submit.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Stephanie. All right, it's been moved and seconded that we adopt the minutes of the November 15th meeting as submitted. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? All right. With that, Chris,
Thank you, sir.
I've already acknowledged your retirement. What I want to also just acknowledge, because it dawned on me as I was getting ready to make this transition, this is the last time I will do this. We've been talking about this year being the year where it's going to be the last time for a lot of things, and this is actually the last time.
Yes, sir.
That because by the time we get to the July meeting, there should be a successor in place, and so I just want to acknowledge that, Chris, as we do this. It's been a joy and a pleasure and an honor to serve as chair with you in the CEO seat.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that very much. And by the way, that's up to you to make sure there's someone here by July. So we're looking.
I understand
that. No, I have to say, first of all, welcome to everybody. Mike and Hari, welcome. So excited to have you on board. I appreciate your unbridled enthusiasm and excitement about being part of the process. And so far, even just with your, as you said, day two or whatever here recently, looking forward to that. To my friend Elliot, who is the DMO head here in Washington, D.C., special time of the year with the cherry blossoms. Thank you for arranging for them to be in full bloom for our meeting.
That's what we do.
Yeah. And there's only another, I don't know, whatever the estimates are, another million of us that are here for that this week. So it certainly makes it for an interesting time within Washington's, our state, our national capital. Yeah, I did announce in July, and people immediately started asking me whether I was counting down, and I said that's still a year and a half away, so I'm not counting down. But just by every day that gets closer, and even comments that you made, it's becoming very real. So very excited about the future moving forward, and looking forward to leaving it in a great spot for everybody. Really, at any given meeting of this board, and it doesn't really matter when it is during the year, we always have an eye on 3 fiscal years. We're actually involved in some form and process of the prior year. We're obviously in the middle of the year. Again, this month will be the middle of our current fiscal year. We've already started the conversations and set the table for the next fiscal year, which in July you will approve some objectives and a business plan and budget. This meeting is the meeting where we actually bring the close to the fiscal 23, and we're certainly excited and happy about bringing that to this meeting. In a year of transition, I would say 23 was probably the final year where we were still acknowledging some of the deep declines that we had as a result of the pandemic. I certainly think we're in recovery, and as Todd stated in his opening remarks, in advanced stages of that, and so we're looking forward to getting beyond that. And I'd say this year is the first year where we can actually say we're post-pandemic and we're in a cadence and in a rhythm to really get us back to where we need to be. So the state of Brand USA, as you'll hear at this meeting, is very good financially, as far as performance in our fiscal 23 year, which is our last year of recovery. And then we're really excited about moving forward. The future is very bright. So we'll focus that discussion on the next meeting, but we're going to bring 23 in for a close. But as we do that, we have some pretty significant events coming up, and quicker this year than normal. IPW will be about a little over a month away. And it's in LA. And it's when we bring our world of stakeholders together and talk about our joint efforts to bring more visitors to the United States and where we are in that regard. That will be my last IPW too, so that'll be some mixed emotion. And then as we talked in and around these meetings, Secretary Raimondo last fall went to China, led a mission to China. And in those deliberations, there was a really strong desire for us to get back to our normal course with that country. When we look at 2019 numbers, nearly 3 million Chinese spent about $35 billion. And I will say in the absence of a return to that market, we won't have full recovery. And that's probably maybe contributing to where we are as opposed to where we could be in that. Certainly the relationship there is a lot more complicated, but I think there was a very strong desire among the two governments that in the absence of us getting back to traveling together, then solving all the other problems are going to be a lot harder. So I think we're excited. This will be the 14th of these. We took them over somewhere in the middle of that. The last one we had was in Seattle prior to COVID. It was great. So we're looking going back to being hosted by the Chinese in a few weeks, and we're excited about getting back to that. So with that, I will now turn it over to my colleagues and members of the board to deliver what we're bringing forward today, which is a lot focused on 23, and then a little bit of an update on where we are about mid-year in 24. So with that, first order of business is the financial.
Good morning, everyone. I'm pleased to say that we've got some great news to share with you today. Our financials are in good state, and I'll go over the summary of those. Audit news could not be better. The financials have been reviewed with the treasurer, and the audit chair has met with the KPMG auditor. So happy to share the news today. Starting with our financials highlights, total revenues are about $34 million. Of particular importance, cash contributions are ahead of schedule. And so we're in very good shape. Our partners are coming back. Some new partners, some who have not contributed in the last 2 years. So we're on a good streak here. From an expenditure perspective, we're at $88 million. There's a little bit on the budget, but mostly timing differences. Cash reserves are very healthy, and we're on track to meet all of our matching requirements for the year. So, Chris, good job.
Yes, sir. Yeah, good job to the team.
From an audit perspective, the audit is complete. It's unmodified opinion. There's no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies, which has allowed us for the 9th year in a row with an unqualified opinion with no management letter, which is really a gold standard. And so we're happy to be behind that. Streak continues. We will have a audit committee meeting next week to inform the board from KPMG's perspective about the steps they took and any particular issues, which there are not. So good news. Happy to take any questions. Anyone? All right, I'll turn it over to Stacy.
Okay, well, we're gonna start off the marketing report with a look back at our some performance metrics from 23 as we wrap that up, and Aaron will.
Great, thank you.
I got it.
Well, good to be with everybody this morning, and thanks to those who are joining us on the Zoom call. So just to frame out our look back at FY23, as Chris teed up for us, the spring board meeting is always the time of year in which we bring in the prior fiscal year for a close. And the board has received a couple of weeks ago a draft copy of our fiscal 23 annual report. This is something that's outlined in the Travel Promotion Act, and I'll talk a little bit about some of the things that go into it. But by law, this gets transmitted to the committees of jurisdiction by the Commerce Department on May 15th. And so this meeting's happening a little earlier in the spring than usual. So we'll make probably one more round of tweaks to this before we send it off to Commerce in the middle of April or so. Our annual report, all of which are available on our website. So the board, members of the public can go to thebrandusa.com to look at our current business plan, our past year annual reports. And once this gets approved and goes to the Hill, this too will be posted on our website. Again, probably about mid-May, but these reports really are the single best point of contact for anybody to look into everything Brand USA has been up to, the interventions we've been able to make in market to drive more travel to the United States, our various approaches to marketing and promoting the destination, and the way that we work collectively with our industry to grow the visitor economy for all of our communities. There's a number of things that you can find in this report, including, state of the travel industry, forecasts and travel outlook, the year in review for Brand USA, and all of the incredible work that our various teams brought forward during the year, as well as some reporting about our allocation by media, by market, how we promoted both gateway and beyond the gateway destinations, and then even, for example, our audit and all of our financial management information, how we performed against the objectives, and so forth. So the FY23 business plan, as Chris said, we're looking at 3 years all the time. So this was the business plan that we brought forward in the summer 2022 board meeting. And so we're very pleased to basically, in summary, note that we hit basically all of our objectives. We feel that we made an incredible set of contributions to returning the travel industry to long-term sustainable footing as we sort of use the fiscal year 23 to get beyond the pandemic and turn our gaze to the future. So again, we're looking forward to putting the finishing touches on this over the next few weeks, getting it off to Commerce, and it'll be available for the public in a couple of months. And just a tip of the hat to the corporate communications team here for and everybody for the body of work they brought forward and for shepherding this document forward. And I know that the team is going to go into a little more detail on some of the areas that we delivered against, but just to note that this will be the vessel that you can all find the information in. So happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, I'll turn it back to Stacy to go through some of the specifics.
Thanks, Aaron. Next, we are going to present a look back at our FY23 ROI study. Rosie, now I'll advance the slides for you.
Hello, everyone. As we've done in previous years, we have commissioned Tourism Economics to conduct a detailed analysis of our return on investment from our marketing efforts. This graph shows the results based on an econometric model based on ad tracking. So Brand USA marketing generated nearly 700,000 incremental visitors to the US in the last fiscal year. This actually represents 1% of all visitors to the United States in 2023. Across all markets, each dollar of Brand USA marketing generated $13.7 of visitor spending, including all operating overhead. Brand USA achieved an ROI of 12.97 per dollar invested and generated $2.4 billion in visitor spending, which represents around 1.5% of all visitor spending when excluding medical, education, and working spending. Over the past 11 years, meaning from fiscal year 2013 to last year, Brand USA marketing efforts have generated 8.7 million incremental visitors, which translates to 28.8 billion in incremental spending, supported over 36,800 incremental jobs on average each year, contributing 8.3 billion in federal, state, and local taxes, and resulted in nearly 63 billion in total economic impact. That I'll continue with our the results of our partner survey. As you may be aware, each year around the beginning of the year, we reach out to our partners to gather feedback on 2 key areas. First one is how our programs are performing, and then the second one is the value they find in our partnership. This year, we received 109 complete responses, which represents a 45% of response rate. To take this into context, customer satisfaction surveys and market research, typically the response rates ranges from 5 to 30%. With anything over 50, it's being considered excellent. With that, I'll pass it back to Cassidy, that is gonna walk us through the results.
Thanks, Rosina. We're very pleased to report that we're maintaining partner satisfaction. The questions that we most closely monitor that are most closely tied to our organizational objectives are partner satisfaction, our partnership value, and partner retention. We'll wait until the end of the fiscal year to be able to report the full results of partner retention, but we have some really great indications of intent to partner, with 94% of respondents indicating that they will partner with Brand USA in the coming year. And I just wanted to personally thank all of the industry for their continued engagement, their continued feedback, and their continued challenges that they present to us so that they can push us to be better, so that we can more effectively respond to partner needs. So we're very confident that some of the enhancements that we'll be updating you with today, from both a resource and a staffing perspective, are dedicated to moving this forward to respond to all of our partner needs. So thank you very much for everyone who participated in the survey, especially the open comments, because we really do listen to you and we take it to heart, and it makes us a better organization.
Yes, definitely an echo to what Cassidy said. So thank you for that, and thank you for everyone for participating. And we hope that you will continue to participate in the surveys that we send your way, because that does help us make us a better organization. Thank you to my colleagues also for that 23 wrap up of some of our critical metrics. I want to shift our attention to the fiscal year that we're currently in and share an update with the board on where we stand mid-year on some of our critical KPIs. I do want to note that the data that we receive comes in at different frequencies. So some of the things that we're going to present to you today are because we have the data. Some come in at more annual intervals. And so when we don't have that data, it will be grayed out on the slide. So starting with objective 1, to establish and maintain the United States as a preferred global travel destination, our strategies here are really focused on improving brand perception and increasing intent to visit. As the United States DMO, we are in a unique position to be monitoring that from a macro standpoint, as well as monitoring the effectiveness that we have in impacting that perception and that intent. So when we look at the metrics around global brand perception, where the KPI at the macro level is an increase in 3%, we look to be on track from that perspective. When we look at the organizational influence on brand perception, with the KPI a little bit higher, with a 6% increase in brand perception, we are pacing above that with a 9%, I think that's 9%, 9% percentage points of a differential. Moving towards intent and to visit / desirability, from that macro level, where the KPI is 3% year over year, we're pacing on track there. And the KPI at a 5% for intent to visit, we are 14 percentage points higher for those who are aware of our advertising versus those who are unaware. So from a marketing perspective, I'm sorry, did I get the number wrong? No.
24%.
24? Yes, 24. Thank you. Even better. Thank you. That's what happens when it's that far away. Yeah, so 24 percentage points, which is great from a standpoint about effectiveness of our marketing in the market. And moving on to objective 2, to contribute to community prosperity by driving international visits and spend. Our strategies here are focused on increasing visitation, spending, dispersing travelers across the US, and growing our market presence. Our KPIs here, when we focus on, just to indicate on that one, the incremental visitation attributed, that's an annual data, as well as the spend. So here, when we're looking at inbound arrivals, our KPI is a year-over-year increase of 18%. We're well on track at 17% from our core markets. And we're pacing above the target when it comes to visitor spend, where the KPI is 17% year-over-year growth. Moving on to destination dispersal, we're well on our way to include over 180 non-gateway destinations within our marketing efforts, which is a really important part in order to elevate those non-gateway destinations within international visitor awareness. And when it comes to growth markets, the KPI here, we have been investing our media in markets where there is an opportunity to grow. So from our perspective in that definition, when we had invested either trade or PR representation in that market or both, we felt that adding consumer dollars was going to be further enhancing awareness within that market where we did have boots on the ground. And so this past year, dedicating 5% of our media budget to those specific markets, we're well on track to achieve that KPI. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in terms of our consumer campaign, where we've been able to enhance some of the dollars spent in just a moment. I'm going to pass it objective 3 off to my colleague Cassidy to talk through.
Thanks. So objective 3, very critical for our organization to lead and engage stakeholders of the U.S. travel industry. And our strategies are really to strengthen and grow partnerships, maintain partnership contributions, and promote a diversity of U.S. stakeholders. So our measurements are to maintain 90% partner sentiment that Brand USA provides value to their organization, an annual partner retention rate of over 90%, engaging with at least 300 unique stakeholder organizations across our program opportunities. Of course, to fulfill the 50 million cash contribution requirement per the latest reauthorization of the TPA, and to establish a benchmark for Brand USA's support and promotion of minority-owned small and rural businesses. So looking at where we're tracking, we're pleased to report that we're either achieving these measurements or on track to achieve these. So as I mentioned, 91% indication of partner satisfaction through the survey. We've already engaged with over 300 unique organizations at 327 currently at the midpoint in the year, and 94% intent to partner through the survey that we'll be working towards at the end of the fiscal year. We're only 2 million below our ESTA goals for a minimum, but we also know that we have some federal relief matching requirements that were tied to our recovery funding that we're also working towards, but we're significantly outpacing these cash contribution efforts as compared to last year. And finally, we recognize that we really need to be a lot more intentional in advancing our efforts to be as an inclusive of an organization as possible. So we're really focusing this year on capacity building for tracking Brand USA's support of small, minority-owned and rural businesses. We have launched an organization-wide effort to have visibility and tracking across all of our business activities that we can. And we're refreshing our communication materials. We're speaking to a lot of our stakeholders who are also engaged in these efforts, and we're learning a lot. And so that's what we're focused on this year, is really to kind of develop in close conjunction with our DEI action plan that Don will talk about in a second, advancing our efforts to be a lot more intentional in supporting the industry in this regard.
So for objective 4, Don, you want to take it?
Yeah, as you can see, the objective 4 was to maintain excellent organizational integrity and reputation, setting the standards for the global travel industry. If you go to the next, there were 3 strategies. First was a clean audit. We talked about that already. It's check mark. 10% increase in overall positive earned media. And then the last one related to the DEI strategy. And I wanted to give you a little more color today around the DEI progress. Last summer, you might remember that we presented our strategic plan. This year, our KPI is really to execute those strategies under each of those objectives. So I was just gonna give you a little color to each of these. The major thing that's happened so far on the goal one is we rolled out our performance management plan and system. So we're defining our goals and we're gonna have check-ins on a quarterly basis, et cetera. In goal two, we have had a lot of activities. We've had conversation circles. We had presentations from staff members on their individual cultures that got great feedback. We had MLK Educational Communications Program. We took the entire team at the last headquarters week to the African American Museum and to a minority-owned restaurant. As a result of that, our task force increased by 30%. So really great feedback. On the goal three, we're defining KPIs for measurement of DEI efforts in marketing. We're collaborating with our agency partners to align with Brand USA DEI goals. And on the goal four, we're developing an internal framework with Brand USA suppliers. So we're off to a good start. I would say we're definitely on track to achieve our strategy for this year.
So before I move into the next phase of a marketing update, any questions around where we stand mid-year around our 24 KPIs? I can go back to any of the slides if you'd like. Okay. So the main takeaway there was that we're on track. All right, so now for an update on where we are with some of our consumer marketing efforts. Our Experience It All campaign has been in the market since in various time periods since October. The team continues to optimize our global campaign. With cost efficiencies, we've been able to expand the campaign within the UK and include Ireland as an additional market for paid media. We're also adding more lower funnel booking partners into the campaign, like hotel beds, and working with travel agents to grow those consumer bookings. We're also and this is the point that I was making about the growth markets, we're also investing in Spain, Switzerland, Austria, and the Nordics, adding connected TV and pre-roll that will begin in April. As part of our investment in media spend, we added search engine marketing earlier on in the year. And we've been strategically assessing social content performance in all of those markets by testing different styles of content as they align to the education piece or the consideration piece as part of our marketing, looking at more specific branded content on social or more on platform, more natural, organic appealing social. And so that's been an ongoing evolution on the social platforms. When we take a look at our consumer flighting, you can see where we were lighter around the holidays. Things have picked up back in January and February. I did notice as I was reviewing these last night that there's an oversight that China is not listed on this. And we will be launching a campaign there in about 6 weeks. So we're preparing that, and that campaign will be May through July, I believe. Also, as we look to educate travelers during the consideration phase, we've been working with a variety of international publishers to create custom content partnerships that leverage our brand messaging and our marketing objectives for each one of those markets. We're working with about 25 different publishing partners across the world, tapping into diverse audiences with very targeted messaging. The flight time for this effort is also aligned to those specific market booking periods. And we've been able to highlight 60 different gateway and beyond destinations through those content collaborations. I wanted to provide an overlook of the content partnerships that we're currently working with. They're at different stages in the development process. There are some global partnerships, and then there is also market-specific partners. Wanted to also give you guys just a quick view on some of the ones that are currently live. So this is a look at Elle and Gay Times UK. So Elle is the world's largest fashion magazine and media brand. Gay Times UK is a leader in creating LGBTQ+ cultural conversations. Moving on to where we are in social. As part of our always on social efforts, we're always looking to be relevant in times when the consumer attention is focused on a specific event or moment. So in this case, it was a Super Bowl. We had a Super Bowl commercial running on the world feed of the NFL in 50 different international countries. And we created content alongside that to engage with the audience proactively around themes that they care about beyond travel, so pop culture and sports primarily. And so in addition to developing content that was leading up to the Super Bowl, we also collaborated with the NFL UK team to publish content that was gathered straight from the ground team in Vegas. So it's just some examples of this include American culture and specific destinations and moments that impact it. So for example, the fifth one is Usher brings A to Atlanta and the halftime show, or playing off obviously the internet obsession around Taylor Swift and Ice Spice, the conversations and memes that were being generated around their activities at the Super Bowl. From this effort, we had about 38,000 engagements across 17 posts and 24 stories. We also established a social war room during the Super Bowl, so we were able to remain strategically agile in case for real-time posting and opportunities to be relevant within that conversation. And we also did host in partnership with the NFL agency in France, a watch party for the Super Bowl in Paris. For a partnership update, I'm going to pass it to Cassidy.
Thanks, Stacy. So at the midpoint in our fiscal year, here's a status of our partner engagement participation and results. So we reported in FY23 that the industry was back working with us to welcome the world again. And these numbers reflect that in this fiscal year, the industry is even more engaged. So from participations to organizations engaged with us to our new partners that we've welcomed, we're pacing nearly double the rate of last year. So that is really refreshing. And on the next slide, you could see the results are still coming in with the majority of our partner marketing activity, these over 400 campaigns launching in the first quarter of the calendar year. But again, so far the volume is starting to surpass the results for the entirety of the last fiscal year. So driven by our partner needs, around this time last year, we announced a significant and much needed upgrade to our existing partner results portal, which we are calling our Partner Success Portal. So similar to the brand development process that has been ongoing, we wanted to take a similar approach by planning a very robust timeline with lots of opportunities for touch points with the industry. So to date, we've engaged with over 25 partners who have participated with us through the discovery process, the stakeholder interview process, to the stage that we are now, which is user testing. So the feedback has been invaluable, and so thank you very much for all of our stakeholder time that has been dedicated to help us shaping this resource that is especially designed to meet our partner needs. So our vision for the portal is broad. We want it to be a one-stop shop for partners from a communication and results perspective. And on the next slide, you can see, in addition to the features you might expect, we're significantly enhancing from the current iteration of the portal. So for the initial launch this summer, we are going to be reporting on active Brand USA campaign statuses and live dates, completed metrics and performance, data visualization tools coupled with those results, the final static reports, pulling in our website analytics in real time, and enhanced research and analytics that may not be available publicly. And so for future iterations, we just kind of want to take it a step further. So we're going to continue to focus on enhanced access to Brand USA research, because we know our partners are asking us for international research and insights. And so we're working very closely with Rosina as well as the IT team to advance our data warehouse capabilities and our ability to share out these insights to the industry, continue to be more sophisticated with our tracking for Brand USA exposure and promotion of our partners, and layering in additional exposure and results. So our overall goal is to provide the industry with the tools that demonstrate the overall value of the partnership each of our partners has with Brand USA. And so we're very pleased. We've listened to your needs, and please tune in for our industry webinar next Thursday to learn more and to learn more about our opportunities moving into planning season for FY25. Thank you. Oh, one more thing. These are just some points of feedback that our partners have shared with us in the user testing experience. And so we're very pleased. It seems that we are meeting the needs initially for what our partners are asking for. My favorite, I think, is the last quote. This is really what I was hoping to see. So this is so exciting. And so there you have it.
We've also been quite active in our global markets, and I would like to ask Jackie Ennis, our VP of Travel Trade, to present that for us.
Thanks. Thanks, Stacey. Good morning, everyone. Very happy to be here today and to give you a very brief overview of what the boots on the grounds and the international teams have been up to. Fiscal 23 was very much a focus on recovery and getting back in front of our travel trade partners globally. Fiscal 24 has been all about strengthening and enhancing that presence. We all know that the industry was really struggling with the recruitment of new agents as lots of consumers turn to trusted third parties in terms of looking at booking long haul vacations. And so as we've been bringing, and our tour operator partners and retail agencies are bringing new agents on board, there is a consistent emphasis on the importance of that agent training, both for the new agents that are in market, but also for the older agents, as we look to see the types of different vacation destinations that our clients are looking for. It's been really incredibly important to us that we provide the tools and the resources for those agencies to have the confidence to sell all of the United States. We're very happy to also report that the USA Discovery Program, which has been one of our signature trade programs since Brand USA's inception, is undergoing a revamp, and that will be relaunched at IPW in the English language version this year. We're very excited. USA Discovery Program, as I said, is a very important element for travel agent training and providing that confidence. We have it in 8 languages, and subsequent to the IPW launch in the English language version, it will be rolled out into the other languages. As you can see from the table here, we've trained over almost 12,000 agents midway through the year. The tour operator co-ops are also an incredibly important part of our collaboration with our identified key partners in market globally, and we continue to work with those key partners in working across their platforms to target that very important focused consumer. Movie screenings also continues across the globe with 11 screenings in 11 cities. And thanks to our airline partners, we are on track to have 17 product and agent FAMs coming this year, with 3 already executed, 5 planned for April, and then a further 9 confirmed. Delighted to also say that we have our 3 confirmed mega FAMs for calendar year 2024. We will have our first ever Air Canada, Canadian mega FAM in partnering with Air Canada and United Airlines, bringing over 50 agents from across Canada on 6 different diverse itineraries to the nation, with a finale in Houston, Texas. Our signature mega FAM, it will take place in September this year from the UK and Ireland, and for the first year introducing Aer Lingus along with British Airways and American Airlines as our partner. And again, delighted to announce that Korea, we will have our first Korean mega FAM taking place in October with Korean Air and Delta Airlines. Further moving on from, in terms of our on-the-ground teams, we have conducted RFPs in Mexico and Japan this year, and I'm very happy to also confirm that we conducted an extensive search in Colombia, and we'll be shortly announcing Colombia as our 15th market region for Brand USA. We've also completed missions to 6 major markets. It's been a very, very busy winter. And we have had 6, as I said, 6 markets. India was our first in January with we're celebrating their 10th Brand USA mission. We had 39 companies, 56 delegates, and also 11 PR executives taking advantage of our first dedicated media track on a mission. This mission was fantastic in terms of having 86 buyers come to 86 buyers from 13 different cities around India come to one location this year. We changed the format of our India mission slightly. Mexico followed with doubling of our US partners from 22 last year to 41 this year. This time we covered 2 cities, Mexico City and Guadalajara, including travel agent training plus one-on-one meetings with over 30 tour operators. Australia saw the New Zealand Expos came first this year. We had to do some jigging of dates, and the New Zealand Expos actually came before the Australia B2B. We were in Auckland and Christchurch with over 83 individual US partners, which I think is incredible. 50 partner companies, but 83 actual individuals participated with us. And our B2B in Sydney also attracted 62 partner companies from the US with 82 delegates. And we had hosted 39 buyers from across Australia and New Zealand. Moving to South America, we had our second mission, this time just visiting 2 countries, Brazil and Colombia, but really successful again, moving from 13 partners last year to 27 this year, including Delta Airlines. We had our delegates met with over 60 buyers from 10 cities, and we trained over 230 agents. And I think we have just a quick video, give you a snippet of what that looked like in Bogota. emphasize the sales missions are just such an integral part of our travel trade strategy. The ability to be able to travel with the iconic destinations as well as the lesser known destinations is just incredible to see that breadth of the experience and the diversity of the product that we're bringing to the travel trade industry. So it was really wonderful to see so many partners with us over the last 3 months. Just a quick point on our upcoming Canada Connect. This is the first time that we're doing an event in Canada for the United States travel trade. And the emphasis is also on destinations that do not have full-time trade representation in market. I'm happy to say that we're sold out. We're full right now at 37 partners registered, which is fantastic. And we'll be going to the three cities of Toronto, Montreal, and Calgary. And just a very quick update on the next upcoming missions to Japan and Korea in and out of the US-Japan tourism year, which has certainly we're looking to expand the sales mission. Last year, we combined Japan and South Korea. This year, each will have their own sales missions, own week for sales missions where we'll visit tier 2 cities of Osaka and Busan in Korea. And we'll also be adding receptive operator events in New York and LA to both complement that effort, working with our travel trade partners in those 2 markets. The deadline for these 2 missions, which will be the last of 2024, is May 17th. So please feel free to register, reach out to us, and there is still time to register. It's you, Aaron.
Great, thanks, Jackie. I'm gonna jump on board the upcoming events train and just read out a couple of things that are coming up, and Chris previewed some of these at the top of the meeting, but as you can see on the screen, IPW, which is the biggest travel trade show here in the United States, and from Brand USA's perspective, is our biggest stage of the year. Our 360 world of stakeholders, and over 5,000 of our closest friends all get together in one place to celebrate all that is the USA and all that is the host city, in this case, the city of Los Angeles and the state of California. It is the time of year where we bring forward many of our new tools for our industry stakeholders, where we engage with our government partners and allies to present a united front to the world, and where we bring forward many of the great stories about the USA to share with our media friends from around the world. And of course, the core of the show is the B2B based appointments with the travel trade and the buyers from all over the world who will be putting together their catalogs for the coming years. So as we said at the top, it will sadly be Chris Thompson's presumably final IPW, at least from this perch. And so we also expect there to be quite a heartfelt send-off, and with any luck, the ability to introduce a new face, at least in a new role to our world of stakeholders. And as I said, this show is also a key driver for our industry. And so I just wanted to read out a couple of exciting statistics for the show coming up in just a couple of weeks. So with over 1,700 international delegates currently registered, and I should just say the show is owned by the U.S. Travel Association, they are 31% ahead already of the final numbers from last year's show. Current international buyer and media count is a 30% increase over last year's show already. The top 5 markets by delegation size are the UK, Brazil, China, Canada, and Mexico. And I'd note that Brazil and the UK each have over 150 delegates coming to Los Angeles. And in particular, the Asian markets, which really are where we're seeing the biggest lag in terms of the return of all outbound travel, but including travel to the United States. And hopefully this will be a good leading indicator for that. But the Asian markets are looking really strong for IPW. And so just year over year, the Chinese delegation is up 114%. Japanese delegation in this US-Japan tourism year is up over 150%. And even the Korean delegation is up 105% over last year. The media marketplace completely sold out. So just to note, it's going to be a real buzz on the show floor, and hopefully a real inflection point for our industry as we get fully beyond the pandemic and move toward a longer term future. Shortly on the heels and on the next slide of IPW is the US-China Tourism Leadership Summit. As Chris noted at the top, this is the return of this summit after 5 years of hiatus. And this follows upon Secretary Raimondo's trip back in August of last year, in which this was one of the key deliverables for that mission. And we're going to be gathering with a really select group of stakeholders from both the Chinese and US sides of things, from industry, from destinations and communities, to reconstruct some of those linkages and to set the stage for the return of this most lucrative travel market. We'll certainly be celebrating the return of the sale of group travel from China to the United States, which also was announced back in August of last year, and will be a key moment for many of the folks around our industry to re-engage this market, to understand what's new and how to find success there, and ultimately to build the commercial relationships to reconstruct, as Chris said, what used to be a $35 billion travel export market for the United States and the #1 source market around the world for spending. And then finally, just to give a little bit of a preview for our big European trade event, which we in our industry have really engaged now. This will be the 6th year. And this really has provided a whole new way for a much broader set of folks in our industry to find success in the European theater, with the UK and with more than a dozen markets on the continent. And this is a really efficient and effective way to get in front of a world of the top qualified media and the top qualified buyers from around that region. And so, as you can see the dates here, we'll be back in London this October. And we're doing it a little bit different this year, where we have specific registration applications. And this will allow an increased opportunity for more organizations and more diverse organizations to participate in Travel Week, including better diversity of geography, better type of exhibitor across different segments of the travel space, and so forth. So thank you to everybody who has applied and put your name forward to participate this year. We will have record numbers of exhibitors. We will have record numbers of CEOs, record numbers of buyers from across Europe. And in the next week or so, we'll be reaching back out to notify applicants of their registration status. So a lot of exciting things on the horizon, as folks can see. Happy, as I'm sure Jackie is, to answer any questions about those activities. Otherwise, I'll turn it back to you, Stacey.
Just want to acknowledge the work of our events team, our trade team, and our partner marketing team. Much of what we do is designed to promote the U.S. travel stakeholder industry and support their work in bringing people to the destinations. And I think from what you've seen in terms of the record numbers of registrations for Travel Week and what we're seeing on the partners being back with us on programs, and then obviously the elevated and increased participation in some of our I guess across all of our global trade events, it's really exciting and thrilling for us to see that industry engagement come back and in the support of the programs that we do. So I want to just celebrate the teams and the work that they've been doing within our industry. Moving on to the last piece of update from our marketing part. We a couple of years ago, I think it was about 2 years ago, we started doing a global release program around different aspects connected to what different storytelling pillars. We did a 5 destinations to watch release a couple of years ago as part of this piece, and in December we released it for a second year. The destinations to watch for this year were Philadelphia, St. Pete, Clearwater, Santa Fe, Kansas City, and Asheville. Sorry, was pulling that one back up. And I think it's really great that we were talking about Kansas City before the world was talking about Kansas City. So exciting on trend for that. From that global release, we've received over 100 earned media stories, as well as inquiries in terms of press trips. And so that is an ongoing effort that is a result of that release. We also just published a global release on the solar eclipse that will be occurring next month. And there will be an upcoming release around arts and culture and festivals within the next few weeks. And I believe That is it. That completes our marketing report.
All right.
Yeah, that was a lot. And that was, obviously bringing it close to some of the higher profile things that govern how well we did in 23, and then just giving an update on where we are and a really busy and really active 24. So if there are no other questions, if there are no questions from the board as it relates to that, then I'm gonna go to you, Mr. Chair.
All right.
With the help of Mr. Conti.
All right. Well, let me just pause for a second, just to ask if any board members do have any questions for Stacy or any members of the marketing team, the research team, policy team. There were several folks involved in that presentation. So, it's by the way, Chris, thank you for that, because it's nice to be able to see the depths of the talent on the
Yeah.
team. And I appreciate the fact that you showcased the team and bringing the presentations forward. So nicely done. All right, if there are no other questions, Jake, you and I, for the board, this is stated as a governance and nominating committee, but what we are actually going to be adopting today by resolution is we are bringing back some elements of our committee structure. We've talked a little bit about this, whether committees and task forces and the like. More to come on that from me. So watch for some updates as we move forward. But one committee that I would like to form at this time with the board's concurrence on this resolution is a committee to undertake the executive director performance review. And I have been asked Dawn Moore and Lauren Bailey to serve with me on this committee. It seems appropriate in my role as chair. Dawn is our current vice chair, and then Lauren is, shall we say, kind of a board member at large to be able to participate in carrying out the performance review of our CEO. And they have concurred, and Jake has worked with me to pull together this resolution that's in front of you. So with that, Jake, I'm going to ask you to just provide us an overview and any high points you want to touch on.
Sure. Yeah, this is informed by the conversations that you've had with those fellow directors and your other peers on the board as well. Top line summary is an established committee. It's an advisory committee. It's empowered to collect information related to executive performance, to actually evaluate performance against established criteria, if deemed appropriate, make non-binding recommendations to the board for amendments to the executive director evaluation criteria, and finally, to make recommendations for changes to base compensation and awards of variable compensation to the full board for approval. It's a committee that's advisory and it's handling personnel matters. So the meetings shall be closed to the public, and the committee shall keep minutes of its meetings. That's it. You, Don, and Lauren are the initial members.
Mhm.
This is a long-lasting committee. We expect appointments on an annual basis. That is the gist of the.
All right. And it's noted in the resolution that I'll be chairing this performance committee, and to be clear, Chris will also undertake a self-evaluation process that he'll pull together against those criteria. He'll submit that to me. I'll share it obviously with the committee, but I'll share it with everyone on the board, because again, we are an advisory committee and this will ultimately be a board decision. So we'll be bringing a recommendation back, but I'll want all board members to be able to see that and to participate fully in that process as well. So just so you know how that part will move forward. So with that, I will ask for a motion to adopt the resolution as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Mike. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Elliot. It's been moved and seconded to adopt the resolution as presented. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? All right. The motion passes. We do have dates already scheduled coming up for 2024. I just want to note those for the board members. Staff, I'm sure, are well aware of these dates already, and obviously for anybody that has joined us today over Zoom. But this summer, we'll all be together in Napa Valley, California, and then next fall, we'll be back here in our nation's capital in Washington, D.C. With that, we doing Q&A?
Board questions first, then we'll open up.
Understood. So And with that, I'll ask if the board has any questions at this time or anything for kind of the good of the order.
Mr. Chair, with Brian Bell having been here earlier, he asked me to just announce the Federal Register notice will be coming for open board positions in May or June. Two of which will be completely vacant. Mr. Moore and Mr. Hoplamazian will have exhausted their services. So if you're a listener and you're in lodging or land and sea transportation, get your resumes ready. The other two verticals that are up for applications are the restaurant sector and city destination marketing sectors.
Great.
But those two are eligible for reappointment.
Those two are, yes, Lauren Bailey and Mr. Ferguson are both eligible to be reappointed.
Great. Well, I know Don certainly exhausted me, not just his term. So.
You're welcome.
And I'm welcome. And I'm welcome. All right, then I'll open it for any questions that we may have received from the viewing audience.
We do have one question so far, and if anybody would like to, I guess you can log your question in the Zoom chat. We have one that's kind of I think is a two-parter. One about, Don, you touched on supplier diversity and the DEI policy. If you could just talk about what supplier means in that context. And then if somebody is a small minority-owned tour operator in one of the states, who is it that they should get in touch with to get involved in connecting with international buyers and trying to get into international markets?
Yeah, from a diversity standpoint, we are open to all minorities. We're going through the process now to give a clear definition to it, so we'll get that out to the public as soon as possible.
Those are Brand USA corporate suppliers specifically, not suppliers of travel to the international markets.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like for our marketing programs, when we look at, when we produce stuff in front of the camera, behind the camera, those kinds of things, as well as any sort of other services that we may need.
It's
It's really just procurement.
is a part of a Brand USA corporate procurement policy.
Correct.
And then from a travel supplier perspective, connecting with international markets, what's the best way for folks like that to connect with Brand USA and through Brand USA to the markets out there?
I think it depends on what they're interested in. So I think that the first thing that they would do is if they're interested in Brand USA programs, we have to connect with our partnership team. Is there a universal email partnership that?
Partnerinfo@thebrandusa.com works.
Yeah. So I would do that if they're specifically interested in, let's say, if you're an RTO or interested in more trade specific programs, I would just say Partner Info is a good way to register that, and then we'll connect you with the right person within the organization.
You both. I think that's all we have for public questions.
All right. Well, then if I may, just in closing our meeting today, I just wanted to make a couple of, or share a couple of just closing thoughts. First of all, my gratitude to you, Chris, and to the entire team here at Brand USA. I am quite the data geek, so I lean in heavily on that because it's all about, are we getting the right messages into the right markets at the right time? And so being able to track that, and the way you track against the KPIs is well presented, and I appreciate that level of detail that you brought forward. I also appreciate the back of the house work that often may go unnoticed. As big a data geek as I am, I'm also a big fan of clean audits, so well done on that. Those are sometimes the most unsung successes that may occur at any organization, but it's certainly not lost on me, Don. So congratulations on your work, and thank you for your work as our Chief Equity and Inclusion Officer as well. I appreciated the DEI report that you brought forward as well. And that is just so critical to the culture that we want to make sure that we're building here at Brand USA. And I appreciate and respect you for that work. Thank you. And Chris, I teased you at the onset as I was turning it over to you that this may be the last time I'm doing this. It's supposed to be the last time I'm turning it over to you. What I love about you, though, is the fact that you entered this year knowing, it may be my last year, but I'm going to work like it's my first. And you have worked every day this year as though it is your first day on the job. And I respect you for that. I appreciate you for that. And I'm incredibly grateful for that. So on behalf of all of us on the board, as well as those of us in the industry, thank you for your service. And with that, we are adjourned.